Do you remember the magic of Christmas morning? Being a kid and coming down the stairs and just seeing all those presents wrapped in shining paper. I can remember being a kid, my parents used to stand outside my door and make Santa noises at 5 a.m. to wake me up. Although, I have to admit, it was a magical day, but I was spoiled by all the presents under the tree. There is a tree in the Bible, although it's not present at the birth of Christ. It's present at his death. And there is something under the tree that he concerns himself with. The tree is the cross, and he's concerned with his mother. When Jesus saw his mother there, and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to her, "Woman, here is your son." John 19, verse 26. It was Christmas Eve, so very long ago, and Mary watched. She watched as innkeeper after innkeeper turned away her husband from the inn. She watched the pity light up the face of the man who would finally give them respite in the only place he had available, a stable. She watched as Jesus, newly born, took his first breaths, and her heart was won. She would watch as this baby grew. She watched his first steps, heard his first words. Maybe she saw that he was more obedient than other children his own age. She saw that he took to Torah lessons with zeal and vigor. She watched as Joseph, who had other sons to look after, took Jesus under his wing and taught him about carpentry. Mary watched Jesus grow older and still did not take a wife, and worried with a mother's worry. Mary watched this infant turn into a man, and now she had to watch him be crucified into a torturous death. Crucifixion day dawned bright and early, and still Mary was watching. She saw the crowd in front of Pilate, saw the religious leaders working them into a frenzy, and felt her heart twist in anger. How dare they do this to her son? She watched as Jesus remained quiet throughout Pilate's questioning, and she yearned that he should say something, anything, to defend himself. Mary watched as he was taken away, watched as he was whipped, and she wished desperately to take his place. She yearned with a mother's love to take the burden her son had to carry. She watched as he carried his cross up the hill, and her own shoulders ached from his exertion. She watched as the nails were driven into his hands, and she couldn't contemplate the agony he was in any more. That's why she was surprised when he looked down and said, "Woman, this is your son." You see, in heaven, Jesus exists in this pure love environment with the Father and the Holy Spirit. The three of them give and receive love to each other. It's how we are able to use the phrase God is love. It's not that love is some sort of mystical matter that God is made up of. It's a state of being that the Trinity embodies. When Jesus came to earth, he came to the exact opposite of this pure love environment. He was born in a stable, cast aside, squeezed into the last place in the town of Bethlehem, an afterthought. No one cared for this nobody child from Nazareth. That's why his relationship with his mother was so important. The love of his mother was the closest thing to this Trinity pure love that Jesus could find on earth. Mary was the earthly embodiment of Christ's deepest longing before it could be expressed. Jesus was always welcomed by sinners, the deaf, lame, and lepers. He was welcome in the most unlikely of places. He was a rabbi, a religious teacher, but unlike the religious teachers of the day, they dealt with rules and regulations. He dealt with the heart. Wherever he went, his aim was to build this pure love environment first and foremost. So when they wanted to stone the woman caught in adultery, what did he do? He forgave her, and maybe by forgiving her, he taught her to love herself a little more than she loved her sin. He healed the sick. Why? The community would care for them, and for many who had been disabled by birth, it would have been better for them if they weren't healed at all. Can I suggest that maybe because if they were healed, they could better embody this true love environment that Jesus came to propagate? When Jesus came to earth as a baby, the closest thing he could find to this pure love environment was the love that his mother had for him. This familial love is supposed to be the embodiment of the Trinity pure love environment here on earth. That's why Jesus cared enough to make sure she was looked out for. He wanted to be sure she had some experience of that environment while she was living on this earth. He was born in a stable, the most unlikely of places, according to the religious leaders. But the love he propagated and still propagates is the same love that he was trying to accomplish under that tree all those years ago. You see, this pure love environment that exists in heaven exists here on earth too, even if it has been marred by sin. It exists wherever you can find the relationship of family. I want to appeal to you. I know family is tough to get along with sometimes, but I want to ask you to make a commitment today to let the love that flows through your family point you to God.